This is the Yakima Agenda Podcast, a production of YPAC and the Community Relations Office of the City of Yakima. Our show focuses on issues that are important to the Yakima area. I'm Randy Beeler. I host the show. Welcome to the Yakima Agenda Podcast. Well, welcome to the second of all-time Yakima Agenda Podcast, all of you, and we welcome especially our guest today, Gary Ballew, who is the Assistant City Manager for the City of Yakima. Welcome.
Super happy to be here.
Congratulations on being guest number 2.
Guest number 2, that's right.
Our boss, Vicki Baker, the City Manager, was guest number 1. So you have a lot to follow.
Yes,
that. It was great.
As is appropriate.
Well, you have been here on the job in Yakima as the Assistant City Manager for a few months now.
6 months.
6 months.
Tomorrow or Wednesday will be my 6-month anniversary.
And before you came here, let's go back a little bit in time to where did you grow up?
Sure. Mostly, as a little kid, my dad worked on hydroelectric dams, so large projects. So I grew up, it's kind of like being an Army brat, except we moved every 3 years instead of every 2. Micah Creek, British Columbia, which is way up north in BC, to Oakdale, California, to Warsaw, Missouri. And that is the appropriate way to pronounce Missouri is Missouri. Warsaw, Missouri, Trail, BC, which is just north of Spokane, and then Richland. I went there when I was in 6th grade and was there for most of my life. So
when you began your professional career, what were you focused on?
So, there was a couple. My first professional career, my first degree was in hotel restaurant management. Oh. And I actually worked for Pizza Hut and was a manager there. Did not end well, but that was what my degree was in. I worked a couple years in it, and then this was over on the west side, so I lived in Federal Way. I started working construction just as a laborer. I was in Renton digging a ditch at the school bus parking lot because they needed it dug by hand. It's raining, so I'm in this ditch, mud up to my knees in water. And I had this epiphany that I needed to be the guy who told this guy where to dig. So I went back to school, got a civil engineering degree and a master's in environmental engineering. And then I got a call from the secretary of the civil engineering department. And she knew a lot about me. She said, hey, there's this opportunity. You should really take it. It was being governor's fellow for, at that time, Community Trade and Economic Development, which is now the Department of Commerce at Washington State, where I was using some of my environmental background at Hanford, but also working on economic development issues in the Tri-Cities. And so that was kind of, so I have an engineering degree or a couple of them, but my path ever since that point was really economic development and public administration. And
you did that in a couple of different places.
Yes. So started as governor's fellow. We spun out. We had a grant from Department of Energy, the U.S. Department of Energy. So we spun that grant out to become a private nonprofit called Pacific Rim Enterprise Center. Worked there about 4 years and then became Benton County's Sustainable Development Manager. And this would have been right around 2000. And when I was there, I became Deputy County Administrator. Kind of worked my way up, and then went to City of Richland as their Economic Development Manager, Port of Pasco as their Director of Economic Development, and then off to Greater Spokane, Inc. For the last 4 years to work as their head of economic development. I think I was a vice president there. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember all my titles, so often I'll just say I'm the economic development guy.
Yeah. The title isn't all that important. It's really the work that you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping I was like a deputy, I'd get a badge or something. Yeah. But I never got anything like that.
So for at least the last 20 years, a little bit more than that, you've really been focused on economic development.
Yeah, really since the mid-'90s. So economic development, and as I was deputy county administrator. I mean, I'd work on some public administration, but with the opportunity in Yakima, they were really looking for somebody who could help on the administrative side, but also work on the economic development side.
And that fits you to a T.
It does. Well, I think so. I'm 6 months, and that's my first. I'm no longer a what do we call it? Probationary employee. Yeah. I actually get non-probationary.
Very nice.
Yeah. I mean, they can still fire me, but it's just
it's a milestone.
Yeah, it's a milestone. Yeah.
So you came here as you mentioned just a few months ago, and you've worked in some areas that have, I would say, fairly robust economic development, particularly the Tri-Cities. You come to Yakima, and your first impressions of the economic condition here and the potential is what?
So, I mean, it's a mixed bag, right? I mean, I felt like there was a lot of opportunity in Yakima, but some of the things that Yakima has, Tri-Cities doesn't. A big example is when we look at downtown and you look at the number. So I live in the Titan building, which is a mixed use, apartments on top, commercial on the bottom. That doesn't exist in Tri-Cities. One, there's no downtown. It's a 300,000 person suburb with no earth. and I say that with all the love in my heart, right? It's not how that community grew up. Then coming out of Spokane, where they have a very robust downtown, but they struggle with residential in a downtown, and it was very much an office-driven downtown. So as COVID hit, things changed, and so they're seeing some of the challenges. But a downtown is really a key element to a community because it really sets the flavor of the community. More so because you can go out to, and I've traveled across the country, and you can find, I'll pick on First Avenue, like South First Avenue. You can drive in Alabama, in a community in Alabama, and you can find that basically that same street. Yeah. It'll look a little different. The businesses' names are different, but it kind of looks the same. But that downtown, really getting that local mix, that's important for a community. So I thought that was great. I did feel like Yakima really had some opportunities. Again, coming out of Spokane, there's a lot of aerospace manufacturing in Spokane, especially compared to other parts of Eastern Washington. And I really felt like Yakima had a great opportunity, looking at the community college here, at Perry Tech. You have all these assets and a lot of people, medical school. You have a lot of young people getting some great education. Wouldn't it be great if we had the opportunities to match them up so they could stay here in Yakima? So I felt that was a great opportunity. So there's kind of some of the initial thoughts.
So even though you've been here for a half year, that's still not that much time. But what have you been? What have you been focusing on during that time? I assume some of it is just getting familiar with the community. But what are some of the opportunities that you may be beginning to see here?
Sure. A couple. Well, if we want to stay in that economic development event, which probably makes the most sense, that's what I know. Not only the mill site has it certainly has a lot of potential. It has been a long time. See if we can get that project moving again. But there's a lot of agricultural land within the city limits, and I think that's an opportunity as we look at how could that be developed in the future into, like, if we're going to do advanced manufacturing, we need a space to put them. Yakima does not have a port district. Oftentimes port districts will be thinking about that, and they'll create industrial parks that will kind of remain empty for about 20 years. I mean, not where the private sector would normally respond. But I think there's some great opportunities out there for working with landowners to get industrial development, commercial development, those things that can help us long term.
Are there kind of standard economic development approaches that are applicable regardless of location, or are they really specific?
So, yeah, I mean, the general principles of economic development, which is you're really trying to strengthen the economy when you look at economic development. So, and what does a strong economy mean? So, one, you would want it diversified, right? You want different industries in there. So, when one industry is going up, usually it's when one industry is going down, maybe another industry is going up. So you kind of balance that. You balance the portfolio like you would with your investment, your 401k portfolio. You want it so it's accessible to people, right? So they can participate in that. So I've been doing it 25 years now, and we would always say a rising tide raises all boats. Well, not everybody has a boat. So those, we want to make sure people have a boat so they can participate in the economy. And that usually fundamentally comes down to education. What kind of education are they getting so that they have that opportunity to participate? But, we can look at some economies that really grew rapidly. South Bay Area down in California, right? You have the, becomes a tech economy. And really a huge part of their economy. Well, unless you're in the tech industry, it's very difficult to participate in that economy or even live in that economy because the earning potential is not there. So how do we create economies that are not particularly focused on one industry, and also provide opportunities for people, for a spectrum of people?
Yeah. And
then the last one, and for me, it's making sure small businesses and large businesses both have an opportunity to participate in that. So, especially small business, we always call it the backbone of America, which is true. But it's also an opportunity for wealth creation in a community. Outside of owning your own house is like the biggest one, but creating your own small business is another one. So those are principles that are kind of true everywhere, but how they get implemented is different in each community.
One of the things that I think a lot of people, when they think of economic development and the role of government in it, they think of incentives. There's particularly financial incentives, other kinds of incentives to draw business to an area. And I don't think that most people in Washington State recognize that we're quite limited in Washington State. We can't provide those kinds of incentives, financial incentives, at least not. My understanding is we're pretty limited. Yeah, so there's some direct language in Washington State's Constitution that talks about, many of the Western states have a constitutional prohibition against lending of public credit, but Washington State's Constitution goes a step further and says you shall not give a gift of funds to a person or a private entity. So that really limits, and the courts here have really ruled that limits our ability to compete, say, against Idaho. So Chobani went to Twin Falls, Idaho. This was over a decade ago. And Twin Falls bought the land for them, put all the infrastructure in, and then gave them that land. You can't do that in Washington State. Ports get a little bit more authority in that sense because port districts, So they have a ability to do some of those things, but again, even then they have limitations. So when you're competing to try to bring in a large company, if they're looking at incentives, it's like, okay, well, it's been very nice meeting with you. You have a great day. But if they're looking for am I going to be able to have a talented workforce? And that's become the main thing for most companies. And actually, there's a group called Site Selectors, and they're a specialized commercial real estate agent, but they help companies who are looking to locate or expand find the right place to do that. And, talent used to be fifth on the list, and now I think it was the number one response. And it was about 71% of the site selectors said, hey, our clients, number one thing they're looking for is talent. So and I assume quality of life, affordability also is a big factor?
Yeah. Well, For not quality of life, yes, but everybody has a quality of life, right?
Okay.
Okay. I had a site selector tell me one time that's like, they would get these brochures with kids playing soccer, and they're like, that's great. Kind of everybody has that quality. We have the ability to move around this country, so you're not stuck. So we all have that quality of life. Affordability, yeah, but look at places where the economy has boomed. Again, pointing the Bay Area out, that is not affordable, right? Yeah. So it's really that mix of talent. You certainly don't want to be overpriced for what you offer, but if you have quality, then you should be able to bring people in. Companies in.
Makes sense. One of the major abilities that government, particularly local government, has to spur economic development in Washington State is infrastructure. We build roads, we build water systems, we build sewer systems. That, in and of itself, is critical to economic development.
Sure. Yeah. It's build it and they will come, right? And so having space for companies, and we're talking a lot about bringing companies in, but most of the economic growth the community has, it's like usually 80 to 90% is the rule of thumb, comes from existing businesses.
Wow.
So it's businesses starting up and growing, and so really trying to focus, and that's one of the things we try to do is focus more on the businesses we have, but they still need room to grow. Right, so we have maybe it's a large manufacturer in our area, and they're like, okay, we're outgrowing our current location. Where are we going to go? And if we don't have space for them, somebody else will. Yeah.
So, as important as attracting new business, it's even more important to foster the growth of existing business.
Yeah, and it works. It's a virtuous cycle. So, if you're supporting your existing businesses, outside businesses will see that. And that's one of the things. If they're looking to come in, they're going to talk to existing businesses in the community and go, what's it like to work with these guys? What's it like to be in this community? And you want them to hopefully respond like, it's great. They're amazing. And we're able to grow our business here. So yes, but that really working on the existing businesses you have, keeping them, we call it in economic development terms, we call it business retention expansion. So super exciting. But it's really going out, meeting with companies. And I in my 25 years, I've never had enough time that I've wanted to put into it. Doesn't mean I don't, but it's like, boy, this is really important. I should spend more time. But going out to businesses, meeting with them, talking with them, see what's going on. Usually I have kind of like 5 questions I try to ask. There's in the economic development world, sometimes we get surveys, we call them BRE surveys, and they're massive. They're long. They take like a half hour. I don't want to say they're a waste of time, but companies are like, no, I don't have the time to answer all these things. So I try to ask 5 questions like, how's it going? It's a pretty easy one, pretty obvious. How is business this year compared to last year? What do you expect next year to be like? What's keeping you up at night? What's causing you, grief? And how are you owned? So you're working with a local company. They may be owned by an outside company. They may be owned by, the individual. It's like, oh, we're a closely held company. It's always kind of awkward to get around this if the person is older. Like we have the silver tsunami that hit a lot of jobs, is also hitting business owners. So it's like, oh, well, you're not as direct as this, but it's like, well, you're getting a little long in the tooth. What's going to happen to your company when you're gone? Yeah. Are the kids interested in it? Things
succession
like that.
planning.
So succession planning, exactly. And so we'll work with companies because, again, super important. If they just sell their company, it could be picked up by an equity firm. Sorry. Could be picked up by an equity firm who then just parts it out or pieces it, or picked up by a company from out of state who's just looking to buy the book of work they do. So if we can get that ownership so it's still locally controlled, that's the best outcome for us. If not, then going and meeting with whoever bought it to say, hey, this is a great place to do business. So not only should you keep that business here, but you should expand it.
So we have about 1 minute left, and we talked a little bit about what you've been focusing on for the first 6 months that you've been here. We've talked a little bit about broad economic development strategies, philosophies. In the next 6 months to a year, what do you see yourself focusing on?
Well, it's been pretty broad because I'm doing both administration and so
from an economic development.
From the economic development standpoint, again, working on putting in some of the things in place to encourage growth and investments in our community, whether those investments come from existing companies or they come from outside companies, but making this a good place for people to invest dollars. So really getting that message out, as well as putting some of the things in place and trying to work on having space to do that in, having places for people to go.
Last question. Are you optimistic about the economic future of Yakima?
I'm always optimistic. There's challenges, but there's opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities. But economic development takes resources, right? Yeah. So it takes time. It does take some funding. We can always question how much that is. And we're always, there was a congressman who had from Washington State who had a deal. We compete against everybody, everywhere, every day. And so as we're doing that, that's kind of the things to think about. So I'm actually super optimistic because there's a lot of good things here. With like the colleges we mentioned and everything else, we're kind of a college town. I don't know that we think of ourselves as a college town. I don't think we do. Which it's like we are. So really trying to build on those assets we have, and I think when you're from an area, like if you're local and you're trying to give somebody directions, you'll give them directions on where things used to be. It's like, you go to where the gas station used to be, and it's like that. I'm not from here. That helps me, not at all. But we develop blind spots or scotomas to certain things, and those can be things, the chain link fence with garbage in it, but it can also be like the good things, and so we never think we have those good things. So trying to get out there and promote that is important.
Well, I think that's a wonderful message to leave with. Thank you, Gary Ballew, Assistant City Manager for the City of Yakima, for being here today, talking a little bit about economic development. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for being guest number 2.
Can I get applause?
You can get, actually, I think so.
There we go. That's all I wanted. Just a little cheering.
That's applause for Gary Ballew, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
So thank you again for being here. The Yakima Agenda Podcast is a production of YPAC and the City of Yakima Community Relations Office. Our producers are Mike Brown and Bonnie Lozano. John Fannin provides valuable research for our show. I'm Randy Beeler. Please join us for the next Yakima Agenda Podcast. Take care.